Well, the Idris has been in the game for over 6 months now, and I've had the pleasure of owning one for the last couple of years. But was it all worth it? Hi everyone, it's Master Ben, and today I'm going to be giving you my 6 month review of the Idris and treat this as a buyer's guide for if you're thinking of picking one up in the future. I'd like to just start with the very clear caveat that this video is aimed at people who are looking to buy one on the Pledge store and have the funds readily available. So to make it clear, this is not going to be a guide of, oh, how can I mortgage my house to purchase one of these? Or should I sell my car to purchase one of these? If that's ever the question in your mind, the answer is no. If you think buying a ship would impact your quality of life, then the answer is no. It's not cheap. The base cost of an Idris is now $1,950 store credit. And let me be clear, that's before any local tax. So in the UK, I have to add 20% to that cost. And that's before any of the bonus packs which you need to buy to make the Idris a worthwhile ship. So let's take a real deep dive into these areas and hopefully I will help guide you towards the correct answer. By no means is this a silly thing to purchase if you are already considering it. It's just that I think there's a lot of things people need to know about the Idris before making that financial plunge. Now, let me give you a little background about me because my position I feel is a little bit more unique than probably the majority of people who play Star Citizen. So, I am one of the directors of Frontier Consolidated. We are a Discord server of roughly 6,500 people, and I'm the head of combat for the org. So, we have roughly 500 to 600 people in the org, and within that section, we have 200 plus combat members who've signed up to do PvP events. So for me, that means that I'm far more likely to be able to find a group of people who are actually keen to crew a ship like the Idris and take it out into combat scenarios. And that's really where I'd like to raise the first point you should be considering before buying a ship like this, which is, do you truly have the amount of people to man this ship? Now, I can already hear someone typing the fact that blades will be in the game and everything will be usable on blades and that we won't need to worry about needing crews. But look, I'm not psychic, but if I could put some money on it, I suspect that some people's interpretation of blades is so far gone beyond reality of what we'll get that we really need to sort of pull this back in. Most of the turrets on the Idris are manned. While CIG did say back in the day that every game package you own could be used as an NPC, I really don't think this will be the case in the long term future. We have seen how persistence has changed. We have seen how the server setup has changed from one server for the whole world now to regional servers, which is far more logical. And I think no one would deny that was a good decision to make. But you should remember that just because someone else may have the crew from Idris doesn't mean you do. With that out of the way, let's talk about the first pro which I found over the last 6 months. And that's that the Idris is absolutely beautiful and fun to fly. If you're like me, you prefer ships which have a bit more weight to them. It feels like you're actually moving an object through space. You're actually having to consider things like, well, where's this ship going to glide to? The Idris is definitely a ship where you need to be thinking a few steps ahead of the people around you, just because of the fact that an input you give now may not have a lasting impact on your movements for the next 10 to 20 seconds, depending on what velocity you're currently traveling at. This means the ship is just incredibly exciting and incredibly fun. And the flight model right now is very, very fun. It's very silly in a lot of ways. I can pitch down fully in atmosphere, I can fire railguns at the floor. This will all change, and I will come onto that later. In the game, this very second, it's great. It's a really great ship to fly. It looks beautiful. It's a really nice model on the outside and the inside. The next thing I'd like to mention as well is the attachments that the Idris can take are really cool. So, for those who don't know, we have three possible attachments onto the Idris P. We have the Idris T pack. The T stands for torpedoes, and that gives you 4 size 12 torpedo launchers on the front of your ship. I've had a play around with these. When you can get them to hit, they are absolutely epic. Unfortunately, right now, decoys are a bit too powerful in the game, but once that gets a bit more mended, I think the Idris T will be in a really, really cool spot. Now we have the original edition pack, which is the Idris K, the K standing for laser. You tell me how that one works, maybe the K is silent. The Idris K is a really, really cool attachment. It's a size 10 laser beam. It's basically a sized up mole laser. It's the closest I've ever got to doing mining, although I do need to make that video. Back in the day, when the Idris first came out, the laser had a gimbal on it, which meant you could track medium-sized ships, for example, a Crusader C1, which was bugging around the front of you. It was very funny. It was very stupid. This was taken out within about a month. So yeah, there you go. Already proof that this ship will get nerfed to where it needs to be nerfed. And then finally, we had the railgun from the Idris M. So you can steal this from other ships. If you take over the ship, board it, unlock its ports, you can then get an Argo tractor to pick off that laser and put it onto your ship. Really, really cool. It's by far the best weapon to put on the Idris right now. The rearm cost is 0 compared to the Idris T, which is about 1,000,000 credits a shot. The alpha damage is insane, and it's by far the best thing at taking out other Idrises or literally anything in the game, to be honest with you. However, right now, everyone has a railgun because you can dupe them from Idris M's. When that changes, will it be as good? If the weapon's still good, yes, but you won't be able to get your hands on it, so we could see the dynamic change from this being a really fun weapon to actually this being a really frustrating weapon to play against because some people have it and some people don't. What else is great about the Idris? Well, I'm going to keep this as a pro for now, but I'm then going to immediately turn it into a con in about 20 seconds time. Right now, you can solo the Idris, and that's stupid, but it's fun, so that's why it's a pro. Yes, right now you need one person to have the largest weapon in the game, the most dangerous ship in the game, PDCs to shoot down light fighters, a landing bay for your friends, infinite armor, infinite shields. What more could you want? You know, if anyone's hearing this and thinking that's a bit OP, it's totally OP and it's utterly stupid and it should be nerfed. But the only way to nerf the Idris in its current state is to give it engineering. So let's go on to the con then. This ship will not be soloable in about 12 months. At least that's my timeline estimate for what's going on. Engineering is very much on the horizon. It's currently being tested on Evocati. It's even in testing for Wave 1, Wave 2 people right now on the servers. For those who don't know what that means, when engineering comes in, you will need people to do power management. You will need people to keep components online. You will need people to do cooling. So I suspect the Idris will go from a solo ship to probably a minimum of 3 to 4, depending on the skill people possess. But the Idris hasn't got engineering yet. It's not in the pipeline yet for engineering because currently we're working on the old model of the Idris. So when we get the new model, that's when engineering will come in like we'll have in Squadron 42. This, I think, is the biggest thing you need to consider if you're looking to buy an Idris. You just need to know that what you're buying right now does not represent what you're going to get in 6, 12, 24 months from now. A lot of this ship, I think, could change. We've seen it with the medical beds going from 1 tier 1 and 6 tier 3 to 1 tier 2 and 6 tier 3. And because this ship is an older model, there's a few things which just haven't been updated as well. The Idris right now doesn't have any medshell ports. They're just empty boxes. These are bugs. Every ship in the game has bugs. So to touch on as well with the ship model and the armaments itself, the spine-mounted weapon on the Idris is heavily, heavily exposed, especially to enemy Idris railgun fire and more maneuverable heavy ballistic ships such as an Aegis Inferno. And I suspect such as the Perseus with 4 size 8 ballistic cannons firing at you. Right now, if you fight an Idris in the verse, the best thing for you to do is to put all of your ballistic firepower or laser firepower, because the shields haven't worked since the ship came out, into the spine-mounted weapon. That can be taken out really, really quickly, at which point the enemies don't have the railgun. And now you're looking at an Idris which is effectively useless. It still has an ungodly amount of size 5 weapon ports, but if you're fighting a solo Idris, for all intents and purposes, it's now dead. It will probably run away. I suspect we are about to see the end of the glory days of the Idris dominating in a solo position. While we do know that Perseus is not going to be a capital ship shredder, at least from the marketing we've seen, and I think just from a general logic point of view, given how long an Idris takes to kill an Idris, a Perseus is not going to be this de facto be-all and end-all shredder of Idrises, so that fear I don't think exists. But I do think we're going to see the Perseus ripping the heck out of the Idris railgun, torpedo launcher, and laser beam to an extent where the Idris will be rendered ineffective in some scenarios. Now, I could be all wrong on this. The Perseus is scheduled to come out in a few days, so we'll have a better chance to see then. I would really watch this space before buying the ship. Now, we know the Perseus is going to be coming out on the 20th of November, which will be a good few days before the first Idris wave goes live. So if you are really, really keen on buying an Idris, I would just say watch some testing from between that window to see how good a Perseus is against the Idris. I don't think it will dominate it. I want to be really clear on that. But I do think the Perseus will be very effective at knocking out its weapons. So those are the main pros and cons I've had with the Idris over the last 6 months and looking at the future as well. Now, there's so much to be excited for with this ship. Being able to have a play space, which is yours, you can take it wherever you want. You have a hangar, you can put 50 people in the hangar if you want to, depending on what you put in there. There is nothing like it in this game in regards to the amount of content you can generate for yourself. I thoroughly recommend it for any large group that wants to have that one own space where you really can leave your assets there, come on the next day, and then do an operation. Should you buy one? Well, if I was to do this all again, I would ask myself the following things. Can I afford it? And if that's yes, right, then you're kind of good to go. Do I have a group of people to play with? If you don't, then really consider why you're buying this. A lot of people I've spoken to always use the mantra of, oh, well, I'll buy it for my org, right? My org will always need one. And I think that's true. But remember, there's always someone else who could buy it. So you don't have to psychologically tell yourself that you have this burden to purchase all these ships. So really consider if that argument is logical in your mind or if you're using it as a coping mechanism to convince yourself to buy it. And finally, this is the main one really. Do you think it's cool? If you think it's cool, no one should tell you what to do with your money and you should go ahead and spend it. And there we have it, folks. That's my take on the Idris over the last 6 months. I do hope it's helpful. I do hope someone will take value from this and help them make a rounded decision on whether this ship is right for them. The main takeaway for me is that the Idris today is vastly different to the Idris we will have in 12 months on a core level. The play space will always be amazing. The opportunity this ship presents will always be epic. But the requirements to crew this ship are going to change a lot. So you need to ask yourself, is that right for you right now? Is it right for you in the future? I don't suspect the Idris will go up in price again for quite some time. So in my mind, there's no rush to pick up this ship. You could do it today. You could do it in 3 years' time when you know where the game's headed. And with that, I'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone who's listened. If you want to support me, you can now do so on Ko-fi down below. There's a few membership tiers or one-off tiers on there. So any support there is greatly appreciated. Of course, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe in this video as well. And I'll see you all in the next one.